Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a really cool show for you, as Lacey and I are going to take you with us as we recap our trip out to the Bay Area, San Francisco. We had an amazing opportunity to visit Lucasfilm for the first time and Skywalker Ranch for the first time. So first of all, Lacey, how you doing?
I'm good. I apologize in advance if I sound a little bleh. I'm still getting over a cold from my kids. Hooray, parents. We catch everything our kids have. Anyway, I am still kind of reeling from the trip that we took. I can't believe it happened. It's really surreal that you know, as someone that grew up with Star Wars, I've loved it since I was like 6 or 7, to like be standing where it was made is just like, I don't know, mind-boggling. It's just insane, and, um, it was just a proud moment for me, as we'll get into, for the podcast and for us, that we've grown to a point that, trips like this happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, yeah, eight years later, 800 episodes, and we finally got to go to some hallowed grounds, which was just pretty surreal and amazing. Obviously, thank you to Lucasfilm, Skywalker Sound for both invites, and we were able to do them at the same time, same day.
It was a crazy day. It was
That was a
crazy.
crazy day that happened on a Friday.
Mhm.
And better than being at work, that's for sure. And just an amazing experience that we'll get into in a minute. And also just the crazy past 10 days for the Resistance broadcast, because I'm still reeling a bit from James coming back and helping us
Mhm.
close out Andor on the K2S show last week. That went really well, and you could tell our audience really liked seeing James pop back on to talk Star Wars with us.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, when you just it's like we picked up no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was mocking you about Obi-Wan again, and, we had some fun with Saw Gerrera and Jedha, which I'm still laughing about myself because I never viewed it as the scene, until James brought it up, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is very awkward and weird," that he was like, "No, I'm not here." No, it was just really fun to kinda just get back into that flow, I guess, of
Yeah.
we just know each other so well and know from our own values and experiences kind of where the other person leads. Like, you and I know each other very well, that I know what you're gonna say probably before you say it, and you probably know what I'm gonna say.
Do you, though?
Um, yeah, I think so.
All right.
Oftentimes, yeah.
All
Like, I
right.
know where a conversation is going, and I feel like with
Mm.
James, we both knew, like, kind of what things he would touch on, because we knew what things he really liked about Rogue One and Star Wars in general, that those things would probably still connect with him.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like,
And it's nice
it
to
had,
laugh again.
yeah, and it had been over a year. And the first thing we
Mhm.
did was a live show. So
Yeah.
I think we obviously had some confidence going into it that it would feel that way. And it did. It's doing a live podcast when you're, in a rhythm and prepared is hard to do. But doing a live podcast with someone coming back after a year and it going as smoothly as it did, uh, you couldn't ask for anything more. So that was really great and a good way to close out the K2S show, as we are going to be heading back into our recorded episodes this week for TRB, where we'll dive into Star Wars news and maybe some of the stuff that has come out about the projects that have been announced and all that stuff. But on this
Yeah.
one, Lacey, we
Hold on
are
really quick. I feel like people are gonna be asking, so stay tuned and let James know if you want him to come back, but, as of right now, he's having a good time just guesting. So we'll see what happens,
yeah.
because I know
Yeah,
people are gonna be asking.
yeah, definitely let James know how you felt about
Show him
the
some love.
episode. Show him some
Yeah.
love and let him know if you want him back. Let your feelings be heard on social media, or if you're in the TRB Discord base, definitely hit him up for sure. And
Yeah.
thanks for James for taking the time. That was a really really
Yeah,
cool.
man.
All right. So we are gonna get into our experience heading out to San Francisco. We left later than we expected on a Wednesday night after eating some bad pizza, and we're sitting there at the airport. Our flight was delayed about 90 minutes.
I
So
wanna
that
start
was
this yeah, start this off with, I'm a big planner. We all know that. Big planner. We get this email that we're doing this trip. I'm like, "We're going out, John, the night before. We're gonna leave at a decent hour, get there at a good time, but after work hours, so we don't, like, get into any business during your workday. We're gonna get there in time to have a full night's sleep." Like, I got this. I figured it out. And of course, everything goes wrong. Our flight gets delayed. John gets stuck in security for a really long time. So then we're running through the terminal to get food, and every place is like a 30-minute wait, 45-minute wait, hour wait. And we're going, oh my God, we got to get this plane. So we get the really terrible pizza. Ends up, our flight then gets delayed.
yeah, 90-minute flight delay. In security, I saw Ace Frehley from Kiss just going through regular security. I thought that was pretty funny. Mike Lovins, one of our and loyal listeners, is a huge Kiss fan. So I don't, that was pretty interesting. But then we're sitting there. We finally get on the plane, and we are on the tarmac. We're like, all right, we're going. It's a little later. That's fine. We'll watch some movies. Then we'll get in late. It's okay. And
Mhm.
then the pilot comes on, and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take off. We're going to get you there as safe and quickly as possible. But there's 27 planes ahead of us to take off. And Lacey and I look at each other like, how long does that take? What does that mean?
There
Are we going to be
there was a bit of a pause there. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna get you out of here as quickly.
everything
There's a
was
couple
yeah,
there's a couple flights, just 27." And
yeah,
my eyes were like out of my head. I looked at him and I was like, 27? Because usually they're like, there are 3 flights ahead of us. There are 6 flights ahead. 27. And by
yeah.
the way, both flights, which we'll get into the second flight later, both flights, the pilot said how crazy and chaotic the airport runways were. I
Hmm.
have been flying pretty several times a year. When I was working for ReedPop multiple times, like in a month, I have never experienced this. And this trip and our Tokyo trip, both times, more this one, it's been chaotic, hectic, rescheduling, delays, issues, mechanical problems. Oh, this person's doing this. Oh, the runway's packed. Never had this happen before.
Hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
wild.
So we eventually get there, and it was like 3 a.m.
2,
California time.
2 a.m. Yes.
By the time we got to the hotel and stuff, and the time my head hit the pillow, it was 3:15 in the morning California time,
Yes.
which means it was like 6:15 a.m. here, which means, I had been up for like 24 hours, absolutely cooked. We get to the hotel, the guys doesn't know what he's doing with the reservation got lost because we didn't get there the calendar day before. There's a girl next to us trying to check in who left her phone in the Uber. She's got a dog with her. I'm just like, get me into my damn room. And
And this
eventually
is
we
3
did.
AM. That was the crazy thing is, like, all this stuff was happening, we were just like, "Just please,
But
just."
in our brains and bodies, it was 6 a.m. the
Yeah.
next day.
Mhm.
So anyway, we finally, get to our respective rooms, get our sleep, get up, and we have a day before the events, and we got
Mhm.
to see a bit of San Francisco. You finally got to try get your fluffy pancakes. So why don't you tell everybody who's just dying to know how this went? Because we did film a video. I don't know how appropriate it is because I probably used some colorful language, but with the beauty of censorship, maybe we can post that for you guys. But Lacey, we tried like 4 different fluffy gelatin-ish pancakes, and why don't you give a very brief review on how that went?
Yes, so one of the things I wanted to do in Japan was to try, like, the souffle jiggly pancakes, and you guys all know that I was going on about it for, like, months, and then, surprise, it didn't happen in Japan. We just never got there was nowhere near us, it just never happened. So when I went to San Francisco, we went to San Francisco, I spent some time ahead of time, like, researching what's there, and there's Japantown, which we ultimately didn't go to, by the way. But they have the pancakes there, and they're actually from a chef from Osaka, like, the company came over from Japan, and they're a cloud kitchen. So they're not a restaurant. You can only either DoorDash stuff or go pick it up. So I ordered these pancakes and was like, "Okay, we're gonna go pick these up." And John was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "No, I need to try these pancakes." So we got creme brulee, we got hazelnut chocolate kind, which is just the topping. It's not the actual pancake itself. And then they also did it cold version, which was like a sandwich where they cut the pancake in half and then they put stuff in the middle, which we got matcha and then the creme brulee custard or something like that. And guys, I have to tell you, look, I'm sure hot off the skillet and on the plate in front of you, served fresh, it's probably a different experience in Japan. These ones were fine. Like they taste like bread pudding. They have like this kind of like wet texture. They didn't have a lot of, I would say, flavor to them. It's the stuff on top that gives them the flavoring. The creme
Mhm.
brulee was fine. Chocolate tastes like chocolate. The cold ones were gross. I would not recommend them. The matcha was just like it was very gritty. But overall is a funny experience. We were eating these pancakes like on some type of electrical box because there's no benches
Right
in
in front
San
of City
Francisco.
Hall.
Yeah.
Someone was getting married on a Thursday.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so we did take a video. I have to edit it together, but I can't wait to share it with you guys. It was a funny experience
it was.
of going to this ghost kitchen and I was like, "I'm here to pick up pancakes." And the lady hands me the bag. Um yeah, it was funny. It was just like a perfect Lacey moment of I want to do this. And so, typical me, I'm very touristy. I love to do the fun things that everything, you go to a city or a place and what it's famous for. I want to do it. I want to experience it. And I didn't know when I'd get back to San Francisco. So the big thing was the pancakes. And I really wanted to go on a cable car. Like I was really excited about the,
It's so
cable.
ridiculous. I don't wanna even get too into it, but it used to be, like, back in the day, I'm saying, like, even before I was born, like, those
Yeah.
things would just be, like, going up and down the hills on the
Hmm.
rails and
Hmm.
whatever, and people would hop on if they were,
Yeah.
like they would jog to them and just hop on, grab on, and then they put their shekels in and take their ride, and now
You
it's you have
said
to book
shekels last time.
and now you have to book it on an app. You have to go to a specific spot. It's almost literally like a ride now, and like the main hills that they were on were down or something, and they
It
weren't
was
running, and
closed.
so
Yeah, so they were
it's just
closed.
the magic's not there, and it's not the same because it's supposed to be something you're able to just do, and it's not the case anymore. And I'll be
Mm.
honest, I wasn't even. We won't get into it too much, but I'll just quickly say I wasn't. I've been to San Fran 8 years ago, and the city is in much worse shape than when I went 8 years ago. And it was even there were some pockets there that weren't in the best shape. So, but
It
it
was
didn't hinder. It didn't.
rough.
It what? But it didn't hinder our time. We had a good time. We went to a diner and had some good breakfast right in the heart
Yeah.
of the city, and then we what else did we do Thursday? I'm trying to think. Oh, we went to the tiki bar. That was
Mhm.
fun. The guy wanted nothing to do with
The
us.
guy
Didn't want us
hated us.
there.
He hated
Yeah,
us so much.
we checked out a speakeasy, which was cool.
Mhm.
We had a cool Italian dinner as well. At I forget the name of the restaurant. Do you
Original
remember?
Joe's.
Original Joe's. That was really
Yeah.
good. And yeah, so we
We
were able
took a
to just sort
Waymo.
of yeah, we took a Waymo at the end of the night that
So
took us
explain
back to
what a
the
Waymo
hotel.
is.
So a Waymo is essentially Herbie the Love Bug, but real. It drives you with no driver. They're all over the city.
They're everywhere,
So
yeah.
so much so that we even I mean we took Ubers everywhere. So we're constantly in the car with like random drivers and stuff. And this one guy was talking to us,
It was very
and
funny.
he's like, oh I love the Waymos because I love messing with them. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, check this out. There's one behind me right now. I'm like, how is that? Is this a setup? So we're at a red light and
Mhm.
we're downhill and there is a Waymo right behind us, and he puts the car in reverse, the Uber driver, and we're in the back seat, and he starts backing up, and he's like, watch this," and the Waymo honked at him,
It's
driverless
flashing its
robot
lights.
car, honking at this guy, and then it proceeds to back up itself, and I'm like, we are in the future. It is wild, but we did take a ride in a car across town with no driver. And when you watch this thing take a heavy left turn, it's kind of mind blowing, even after a few stiff drinks, which was what took me to have the courage to do it because Lacey wanted to do it stone sober day
I
one. I was like,
Yes,
hell
I was
no.
like we first thing in the morning when we got up to go get the pancakes, I was like, "Let's take a Waymo, let's take a Waymo," and they were going like 1, 2, 3, like and John was like, "Absolutely not." So I got him to go on one that night, and, you have to sign up with they're Google cars, so you have to sign up with your Google address, so I signed up with TRB, and when we got in the car, it said on the screens like, "Hello, Resistance," like,
Right.
"Welcome to your ride," and it was like, "Enjoy the music, blah, blah, blah," and it was just so crazy, and you go up to
It
the
was
car and
cool.
unlock it with your phone, but yeah, I mean, that's basically it, and then we get right into Lucasfilm stuff that
Yeah.
got to be
So
very uneventful. We didn't really go anywhere else because, to be honest, I don't know if I felt necessarily safe, so we kinda just did
we checked
some
out cool
food stuff.
places and we did that.
Yeah.
And it was also like a re-energized day, get on the Western time clock,
Yeah.
and then the next morning is when like the tornado happened, which was we get up in the morning and we um go to Lucasfilm just to check it out. And we
I
went
wanted
to
to get a
the
picture before everything got crazy that night
yeah.
at the
So we
Yoda
went
fountain.
to we went to the Yoda fountain, took some pictures. That's the one I believe we posted. And then we had to shoot all the way up to across the bridge. We went across the Golden Gate Bridge, which was very
We
cool. We saw
did, we did.
Alcatraz, we saw San Quentin, we
Mhm.
saw the just beautiful hills on the other side of San Francisco
Like
across the
this.
bridge in Northern California. And we ventured our way about 45 minutes via an Uber to Skywalker Sound, where we were met by Christina, who was so generous with her time.
Gracious,
And
wonderful,
we were there
knowledgeable,
for
wonderful, yeah.
I you and I went there expecting 90 minutes, something like that.
Mhm.
And we got to a point where we hit that mark, and then we were gonna go get some lunch. And we got lunch with Christina, and then she's like, "All right, now let's go to the main house." And we're like, "Whoa, we're still
Yeah,
going?"
I thought we were taking up to her time, but I'm so grateful. She was so wonderful.
Amazing.
I can't wait to see her again, at Celebration or some other event, or maybe eventually we'll go back to California, who knows? But,
Yeah.
Christina, you are always welcome on the show. You're welcome anytime. If you wanna come to
Oh,
Connecticut, we offered like,
any
"Hey, is there any reason you wanna come to Connecticut?
come
Come
and
on
have
over."
pizza with us. Yeah.
Yeah, come on over. It was so
Um,
lovely.
so highlights from that for me going there, just arriving there, best way I could put it, um, is it is such a serene place that feels like it's on its own planet in a way, because it's just everywhere you look, aside from the buildings themselves, there's no human-made sound. It's very natural
No
animals.
signs.
It's peaceful, it's
Mhm.
calm, it's serene. You can be totally relaxed when you're there, and I felt that through and through. And it's ironic because it's the most peaceful, serene place, and at that location is where they make the most bombastic, crazy sounds for movies and TV. And we got to see that because Christina took us in to meet JT, and he was also amazing. And we
Mhm.
got to sit in the theater where they showed us a reel that involves Star Wars, Top Gun Maverick, Solo was in there, and we got to sit in the theater where George Lucas would sit and test his sound mixes, and where they would show him, what they had, and for him to give his feedback and stuff. And Lacey asked a question to the guy that I was like, "Oh, there's no answer to this,"
I
and I
love
was
how
wrong.
John
So
thought I was so dumb to ask this
I didn't think you
question.
were dumb. I was just like, "There's no way there's an actual. He's just gonna be, entertaining us for the sake of saying it." But you asked him, where did George Lucas
Where
sit,
did
and there was
George?
an
Because he
actual
said
answer.
George, yeah, he said George would come in here and do all the sound stuff here. So my first thing that I was like, "Well, where does he sit?" Because I
Yeah.
wanted to sit where he sat in the sense of the theater, because if George is deciding to sit somewhere, that tells me it's the best seat in the house. So I'm saying, "Where did he sit?" And he knew exactly where he sat. It was right near, like, this, like, little outlet box. He's like, "I used to have tape to mark which one it was," but he knew exactly. And I turned to John and I was like, "You need to sit in this seat right now."
And I'll be
So
honest,
John's butt sat
I
in the seat that George's butt touched.
I usually do the thing where I say it's like the last slice of pizza thing where I'm like, "No, you have it." It's like, "No, no, no, you have it."
No,
When you said that, I was like, "All right."
I wanted you to sit there. I
But
wanted you to sit there.
we sat right next to each other and with
Yeah.
Christina, and then they put a reel up and they really showed the difference in the different sound types, 5.1, 7.1, the Atmos sound, which is additional speakers that Andor uses, that really wraps around you. Say like a TIE fighter flies around. Think about
And the
like
theater's on wood, it's not on concrete, so you can feel every
that's
single
what he said was a
vibration.
huge difference in
Yeah,
that theater that made them know that they can do the best understanding of the sound.
yeah.
And it's an old school looking theater. There's they have the statues up front. It's a lot of velvet everywhere on the seat covers and everything. And it
It's
has a certain
blue.
smell. It was sort of in a
Yeah.
time capsule in a way. It was almost like they preserved it that way, and I really like that. But sitting in that chair where George Lucas maybe watched The Phantom Menace and gave thoughts on the seismic chargers in Attack of the Clones and all down the line, we're sitting there watching reels of the first one was A New Hope, and it was when the Tantive gets captured and the
Yeah,
stormtroopers
before and
come in
after. Mhm.
and Vader comes in. Yeah, so they showed us the raw shots and the raw sounds of on set, and then overlaid it and showed us the version with all the full sounds. And we're just sitting there realizing, like, I'm fully aware of where I am, whose chair I'm sitting in, and what I'm watching. So essentially, I'm sitting where George Lucas would watch his cuts to see what changes he would want to make to the sound while watching Star Wars stuff. They also showed Solo, Top Gun Maverick clips, Marvel
Tron.
clips, Tron.
It's the
Just
first Tron that John has seen.
that
Is
was the
that
most of Tron
Skywalker?
I've ever seen. I was like, oh, all right, this looks interesting. So
Yeah.
we got this whole video montage with just this bombastic, incredible sonic arrangement.
Mhm.
And like that alone, I was like, I could leave now. I don't want to, but I could.
I
But
thought that was basically, like, it for the day.
yeah.
Like, I thought that really was it.
And we abided by all the rules. They were like, no photos. We're like, not a problem.
I didn't
Like,
take my
no
phone out
problem at
once.
all.
Well, I took it out for lunch, but that was it.
Yeah. But like, some of the original props they had there from Indiana Jones, like they had
We're not there
the
yet.
I know, but we're about are we doing chronological? Is that what we're
Well,
doing?
I sure, I guess. We can
All
bounce
right.
around. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say like seeing like the Grail from Last Crusade, and I'm like, is this
Mhm.
like the prop? And she was like, "Yep."
Yep.
I'm like,
She's so casual. Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's that, and they
They
had
had
the
stuff
fake
from
one too.
Willow. Yeah.
They had the one Donovan drank from that turned him into dust. She's like, "Yep." I'm like, "What?" And then the lightsabers and everything. So that blew my mind. But yeah, what did we do after the theater?
So, I think one of the things that really stood out to me the most about, Skywalker Ranch was the collection of posters around.
Classic
Um,
movie posters.
Classic movie posters, originals that are, like, dated and have, like, one out of whatever, um, just, like, beautiful, time capsules, like you keep saying, of, like, where movies have come from and what their inspiration is. We saw Charlie Chaplin ones, and, um, from my understanding, they're all George's posters, like, they're his collection of
All the
posters.
movies that inspired him to make
Yeah,
Star Wars and stuff. Yeah.
and you had made a joke, John, that I really agreed with when we were there, which was, like, you were like, "I all this is telling me is I know nothing about movies." And I was
Yeah.
just like, that's how I felt too, because I was like, "There's just so much here of movies I've never heard of actresses I've never seen." Um, just like and all their little sound stages are named after directors, which is fun. Like, we went into, like, the Sofia Coppola one,
Yep.
um, and yeah, the movie posters really stuck out to me because they had these gigantic ones
They
that
were
would take up a whole
huge.
wall, and then they'd
Yeah.
have smaller ones, but, like, you could tell they were hand painted or hand drawn and, um, just a real testament to the importance of the work that they were doing and the inspiration that they found all around them, which was driving kind of the future of movies, which is what George always wanted.
Yeah, and also the preservation of the place, which we'll get into later when we talk about the main house.
Yeah.
Just like pretty surreal, like seeing certain things that you've seen in a lot of behind the scenes videos and being like, I feel like that just happened based on how that room looks right now.
They
Um,
very they look dated, but, like, not old, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, it's like like when I had a field trip in grammar school, we went to like Teddy Roosevelt's house, and they're like, it's preserved the way he had it and stuff. And I felt like that's what they did here with George Lucas's house, or the ranch, I should say, and even the Skywalker Sound tech building. Um, and also the building itself, a lot of open air, glass ceilings, a lot of plant life and gardens
Bright,
within the building.
natural light. Yeah.
Yes, like a very warm, I want to be here feeling for such a big building. And, there's so many different layers to the building and so many different aesthetics and looks depending on where you are. And no matter where you look, it's funny because you could be in like um, a dining casual hangout area, and there's modern coffee machines and stuff, and then they'll be like, yeah, up there is Ben Burt's office, and you look up at that and there's these giant doors that feel like
Mhm.
you'd be visiting the Wizard of Oz or something. And then you hear an
Yeah.
R2D2 unit, and she's like, yeah, that was gifted to him, that's up there. And I'm like, this is like Disney in a way, because it just
It's
feels like
another
it's a
world,
it's
yeah.
a magical, it really feels like a magical special place. And everybody I've talked to who works there says, oh, I'm celebrating my 25th anniversary there, like Mac or whoever, and they're like, I still love it every day. It's not like one of those jaded things like, oh, here I am. It's like, no, they realize how special it is to be there,
They
and they
wanna
really
be
mean
there,
it.
yeah.
And if I felt every bit of that, and the 4 hours we were there flew by because of that, because it's just such a I felt so relaxed and happy and serene. It was then the whole property, like the hills and everything about this place, it was also a gorgeous day, like a
It was
picture perfect,
such a nice day. It was
beautiful.
beautifully
We ate outside.
warm,
Yeah,
breezy.
yeah.
The other thing I noticed about it is, like, there's so many doors. I felt like every time we went into a door, it was like we were going further and further into, like,
Heavy
I don't
doors
know,
too.
Alice in Wonderland, like, more down the rabbit hole of where we're going.
I asked her, I'm like, how long
Um,
did it take you to know your way around this place? Because it's just like,
it was I couldn't even tell you where we went. If you had me in that building and said, "Go back to said room," I couldn't do it. I wouldn't
yeah,
know where to go. But
yeah.
it's cool because it's really quiet, and then at the same time, every once in a while, like you said, you'd hear R2-D2 or you hear music that someone's working on something in a room, and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, someone's making movies in here." And you
And you got
just
to
kinda
remember,
geek out a little bit.
it's not just Star Wars. Skywalker Sound does sound for everything.
Yeah.
Marvel, Jurassic, whatever. It's all I mean, Skywalker Sound is the cream. And you could see why. George Lucas put a lot of passion into all these departments and divisions and companies that he made, and and the same way you see in all these documentaries, magic or whatever, the common theme among all the people who work for George Lucas is they wanted to um, achieve his goals, and they wanted to make him proud and make him satisfied with the work they were doing, and that culture has absolutely carried on.
Yes.
They everyone there cares so deeply, and they have such talented people involved. I mean, we just talked about Ben Burt. He wasn't there. We didn't see him. Maybe he was there. Maybe he wasn't. But you're talking about a place that has legends still walking the halls, still working there, and then you have people who are new, but they understand the importance of that place and the legacy of that place, and that sort of like Star Wars, each generation it's up to you to uphold that, so you don't lose that. And it's every bit, because there's been plenty of places that our audience, you're probably thinking about them, or I think about them, where you remember them a certain way, maybe they're not as good, or you build them up in your head as something, and you're like, oh, that's all that was. This was not that. This was a very, very
It was
special
better than
place.
I could ever imagined. Like,
Yeah,
I said to Christina multiple times throughout the day, like, "I feel like I'm gonna wake up and be in my house."
it really did feel like a bit of a dream. Yeah, it did. And then we went to lunch,
We did.
and they have their own dining there and everything. You don't need to leave campus. And we eventually made our way to the main house,
Hold
and
on.
just
I
oh
got a Skywalker burger,
yes, we got Skywalker burgers.
which was Skywalker Wagyu beef, and it was one of the most delicious burgers I've ever had in my life.
Yours was. I think they cooked mine. I wanted it medium. You got yours medium also. Mine was definitely on the
It
more
was
cooked side.
juicy, it
Yeah.
was flavorful, it
Yeah.
was delicious, it
Can I be
was
honest?
what?
If my burger was like a cow chip, I still would have eaten the whole thing and probably enjoyed it because I was at Skywalker Ranch.
No,
So,
it was I'm not just saying this, like, it was absolutely delicious, and they have a whole menu with, like, bowls and stuff and sandwiches, and John and I both looked at it and we were like, "We have to get the Skywalker burger, like, why would you not
yeah.
get that?" And
Yeah,
Christina told us that,
absolutely.
like, they sell the meat, like, you could buy the meat.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Meat
man,
logs.
I would kill for one of those burgers right now, not gonna lie.
Yeah. And I think someone had a dog there and there were birds whistling and they have deer on the property.
They have
It's
a
just this
pool. There's an
They have a
in-ground pool there.
pool. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just a really incredible place. And then we went on a stroll after lunch and Lacey and at least me, I was like, after lunch that's going to be it and we're going to just leave. And then Christina was like, let's go to the main house. And I was like, wow, we're going to do it. So we
Mhm.
take a long walk up the hill to the main house, and it's it's sort of like, and this is gonna sound silly because it's in a Disney park, but it was sort of like how I felt when I saw the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's
It's
Edge
the
for the
big
first time.
reveal. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is sort of a reveal because you come up the driveway and then all of a sudden you see the white edge of the house, and then you walk up to it and it's got that big round driveway that you've seen in every photo on a documentary or photos from George Lucas or even people who have gone there, and there it is right there in front of you. And that's that's really hallowed ground because it's such an old school house. Like it has pretty traditional like aesthetic.
Mhm.
And then you walk up the steps and then, they feel like kind of old steps, and you look out from the top of the porch and you could see off to the right more hills, and the tech building is buried, and apparently there's a specific reason for why you can't see one from the other we won't get into. But we go into the house and it I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like an old like going into like an old mansion or something, because like we were
It
saying, it has
did.
this old maroon sort of wine colored aesthetic to it.
It was very
Um
Knives Out murder mystery is what the house
yes,
felt like.
yeah, a lot of cool chandeliers. All right off to the left when you walk in is that main boardroom where all those iconic photos and videos of George Lucas sitting at the head of the table with Dave Filoni to his right, doodling on his yellow pad. And by the way, there were yellow pads everywhere at Skywalker
Mhm.
Sound and at the main house. And I'm just like, because we weren't allowed to go into George's office. We saw where it was, and that she pointed as to how you would get to it, but you don't go in George's office. So we didn't get to do that, and I don't know that anybody gets to. But the fact that there's these yellow legal pads everywhere, and I was like, that's literally what George Lucas wrote his scripts on with a
Mhm.
pencil, was on these pads.
And
And I
they're
bet there's
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and Christina's like, oh, they're all over, they're everywhere, they're all over the closets, they're everywhere, those things are everywhere. So there may even be lost Filoni drawings in there, maybe some George Lucas scripts in there somewhere, who knows. But right off to the left when you walk in is that boardroom, and it's unchanged from all those videos and stuff you see. Lacey brought up the funny bit about when George Lucas kicked out Seth Green of the
With
Mara
Mara
Jade, and
Jade. There's the
yeah,
buttons there. The close button
the
is right
buttons
there.
there.
Yeah.
And then what you don't realize is that there's another sort of enclosed outdoor dining area right behind it.
Mhm.
And there's just so many little nooks and crannies. I absolutely loved that house because I love that style. But seeing that room so unchanged, I sort of did that thing where you're looking at it and
Mhm.
you're placing George there, you're placing Dave there, and you're placing, all these people around the table, and you're thinking about, like, you're looking at the table and you're like, what discussions were had in this room as I stand here? And it's just such a really, really cool feeling. Um, and then
It's a
we checked out other
beautiful
part,
Victorian house with, like, the wraparound porch. It's stunning.
the rounded rooms on the corners.
A lot of, like, beautiful mahogany woodworking. Yeah.
Yeah. And the library was
Well, the room with all the video games that you loved.
Yes. So all the classic LucasArts games were there. The DOS games, anything ever made was there. So I even spotted ones I grew up playing, like Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. They had like original copies of that. They had Day of the
Mhm.
Tentacle there. They had Sam and Max. They had the TIE Fighter game,
John was
X-Wings.
geeking at this point, like,
I played all those
yelling.
games on DOS back when I was like 9. It was just so freaking amazing that they had
Yeah.
a shrine to these video games. We saw like his record collections,
Mhm.
and then the library, which is an active library. Um, and you walk in there and it's multi-leveled, and again, it has that old school, velvety purple
It was
aesthetic,
very
and
it reminded me of Casper because it had the spiral staircases, like Christina
it
Ricci goes down
it's
in
like
her
it's like
house.
haunting but cozy. It was like very
Yeah,
inviting and
big
friendly.
armchairs, yeah.
Low lighting. There's an exit to a courtyard with a greenhouse. Of just like every box checked in terms
Someone
of if you want to like feel at peace and with nature,
right.
but also you're in the hub of the most amazing technological sonic force in movies.
Yeah, there was someone had posted, I forget what account, one of the Star Wars accounts posted a picture of George in the library for his birthday, and it was a really weird moment for me to be on my phone and be like, "I stood there. I was just
Yeah,
there a week ago."
yeah,
Because it
yeah.
had the spiral staircase in the background, which we did go upstairs and walk around the upper level. But they have like pictures of cats that lived on the ranch throughout the library. They have a book on the table that's bookmarked to where Ryan Johnson got the idea for Crate, which was a picture of
Mm.
China with like salt fields with like red and stuff.
Yeah,
A beautiful, like you said, a beautiful atrium out in the back with like trees and glass. Like it is very reminiscent to me of, like, Main Street Disneyland. Like, they're very kind of over the top Victorian woodworking and, um, ornate details that, like, you don't see anymore
right.
in houses and also just, like, corporate buildings, and this one was definitely put together with care and love and a longing of, like, finding a place that magic happens. Like, it's just, like, such a cool place. Um, and, we walked by a bathroom at one point, John was like, "Jo" you were like, "George could have gone bathroom there." I was like
I said George probably went to the bathroom in there.
and I said, "Do you
Yeah.
want your butts to touch again?" 'Cause
And I was like, no, that's okay.
Um,
Um, but the
but yeah,
but the
n
fact
it
that
was just
it's so
amazing.
it's a working library, and like I almost went into like the librarian's office. I didn't know someone was in there, and she's just in
Yeah,
there working. The librarian's in
yeah.
there. She's like, hello. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. She's like, no, no bother at all.
"Do you need
Because
something?" Yeah.
they check out books there and stuff. Like someone's paying
Mhm.
late fees to the library at Skywalker Ranch. But to your point of when Christina showed us that book that was bookmarked on the table, in terms of Ryan Johnson got motivation from from random page in this book on this table for a major climactic sequence in his Star Wars movie, makes me wonder who else was in that library getting inspiration for their Star Wars movies. Like, what did JJ do when he was there? What did um anyone who went in there
Yeah,
do? George himself, Rick McCallum, like whoever was involved, just going in there getting inspired for ideas. Pretty cool to see that.
it
And
was very
then
cool.
yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else about the ranch that we need to
I
cover.
mean, not necessarily, it was just honestly, us walking around in awe for 4 hours,
Yeah.
like, just taking it all in and just remembering, like you said, like, taking these, like, visual moments in your brain of, like, "What did this look like? What did I feel like in this moment? What did it smell like?" Like, it's
Yeah.
just the landscaping is beautiful, like, every you could take so many pictures if you're allowed to, which we weren't, in that place from outside to inside to office spaces to and, like, everything would look like a beautiful aesthetic, like,
Yeah.
cinematic photo, and the
Yeah.
hills are just, like, so otherworldly, like, I've never been to Northern California, So I didn't know what the landscape was like there. And I understand why now people live there because it's absolutely beautiful. The temperature's amazing. The weather is beautiful. And these hills are just these rolling hills that are like gigantic, but at the same time, not like mountains. They're just, you feel like you're on a movie set. It's like so weird.
Yeah, it was really just beautiful and a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And again, absolutely surreal, serene, just an amazing place. So I'll never forget it. It's gonna be one of those memories where I think about it and it'll feel like it happened the day before. It's just
And we
such
can't
such
say
a
thank you enough to
an amazing
Christina. Like,
time.
thank you for giving us your time, for being so kind and generous, and just being an awesome person. And there's a reason why, I told you you were inspirational for working on Wild Robot and other cool projects. And I can't wait to see what you do next. And please,
Yeah,
if you
and
come to Connecticut, let us know.
yeah,
We
and
will
she
show you
she
around.
was she was sort of self-deprecating in her knowledge and stuff, but she was very knowledgeable and such a great
Oh, so
tour guide
knowledgeable.
and so
Mhm.
generous with the time. She's like, "Yeah, I got to work today, but she just took us out for took us around for 4 hours, and we even saw like a mixing room, and we definitely walked by some rooms where people are doing some work on some important movies that we did not, we weren't privy to, we did not see, so we're not, nothing like that. But there's a bunch of people walking around the building, and we heard a couple stories from a few people we met about, another side of Dave Filoni that made us laugh. We won't get into the stories or
Yeah.
anything like that, but it's just pretty cool to hear, you know, when the lights are off stories that nothing bad, but just another perspective on the personalities and things like that. It
It
was just
makes it more
a
real,
wonderful
more
time. Yeah.
human, and it
Yeah.
reminds you that we're all humans. Because
Yeah,
sometimes there's
exactly.
between the separation of the screen or these bigger projects or, Dave Filoni is an example, like, you see him on a stage with Jon Favreau, and you're like, "Oh my god." But then you hear these stories, and you're like, "He's just a guy, just like we are, just, like,
He's a
living
guy.
his life."
Yeah. So that was great. The only funny part was, and now lesson learned, was not as easy to get an Uber
Leaving.
home.
Yeah.
So we had to figure that out. So next time, if we're lucky to go back, maybe we rent a vehicle and head up that way. But
Yeah.
really amazing time. Yes, and thank you again so much to Christina and everybody there at Skywalker Sound for just being friendly. They have their own fire department, by the way.
Gracious, yeah. Very
But
cool.
yeah, just so kind, welcoming. No one ever looked at us or talked to us as though like, ugh, why are these people here? Why are people doing
Everyone
tours?
was
Like,
so excited to talk to us.
yes, everybody, really,
Mhm,
genuinely, and it was. I felt really welcomed. I didn't feel like I was overstaying. Everything
mhm.
was. It was just a really magical, amazing day, and I won't forget it. So thank you to Christina, thank you Skywalker Sound, and everybody there who was just so nice.
Like
And
a dream
JT,
come true,
yeah,
honestly.
just really, really awesome. Um, and then from there, we had a very short period of time to head back to our hotel to change because heading right back out at 5:30 we had to be back at Lucasfilm. So we started the morning at Lucasfilm to take our photos because we thought maybe too many crowds would be there later.
Yeah.
Then went up to Skywalker Ranch, back to our hotel, maybe had an hour, called our families, did
Changed
all
our
that
shirts,
stuff,
had a
changed
coffee, yeah.
changed our shirts, had a coffee. Yeah, because I was pretty, gassed. So then we head right back to Lucasfilm, and the crowd's already lining up because we were there for a screening of the final episode of Andor, and right after that, Rogue One. So
Mhm.
we get there, the crowd's already lined up. We see
I'm
some
so
people
glad
we
we took those
know.
pictures in the morning, by the way, because there was nobody there when we went first thing in the morning.
Right. I'm glad we did do that. And then we saw a bunch of people we knew, which was really great. And we get in and we take more Yoda pictures? I think we took a couple more.
We took a couple more Yoda pictures outside. There were just crowds and stuff, so we ended up
A lot
using
of
one with
crowds.
no crowds.
True.
Inside, we took a picture with K2SO. There was Darth Vader. B2 Emo was also in there, but the lighting
Yes.
was not great. when we were
Well,
staring
only
into the
because it
sun.
was the way the time was, the sun was sort of heading down,
Yeah.
and it was heading right into, because again, everything, even at Lucasfilm, a lot of open windows and stuff like
So
that,
much glass,
especially
natural light,
in their
yeah.
courtyard in the lobby, all open glass windows. People, if you see the photos of Yoda and you look behind it, that's their main lobby. It's all paned windows, very open, a lot of natural light, and at that point, the light was coming right in. But yeah, they had B2 emo set up, and I don't think he was functional, but his top was sort of loose, sort of how he is, and people
Yeah.
were putting their arm on him, and it was like almost flipping off. So
Yeah.
if you see, if we post the pictures, I think I tried to do that thing where
Did you do a hover hand?
you do the hover hand, the appropriate. I didn't want to cross any lines with B2 because he's been through a lot. So I did the hover hand on him, but and then the theater's right off to the left, and we went in, and they had some posters from Rogue One and stuff like that. But then we sat inside Lucasfilm and watched the final episode of Andor right into Rogue One, and it was just a really cool experience seeing both on the big screen, because we had talked about how Andor, especially this season, and with the new Atmos sound that Skywalker Sound's doing, felt like
Mhm.
it was very cinematic, and it probably could be in the theaters, especially the Gorman arc and the final arc. And we got to see the final episode on the big screen at a Lucasfilm theater inside Lucasfilm, and then followed right by Rogue One, and that was just a really, really cool experience. And it made Rogue One, especially like 5 minutes ago watching the finale of Andor, it just added
Mhm.
those layers to it that we talked about on TRB. It was
Yeah.
just a really, really awesome experience.
And it's cool being in a room with a bunch of other fans too. That's always a great time. So, like, the energy is just there.
There was a lot
And
of
if
people dressed up and a lot of
Mhm.
lightsabers and that sort of thing. That was really cool.
I did laugh. They did the, "Woo!" at the Lucasfilm logo that you always joke about. Someone did do it. But I am surprised not a lot of cheering during the movies.
I
I
was
thought
gonna
there'd
say
be
the same
more
exact thing.
cheering.
I was actually pleasantly surprised that, and I think again, like it comes back to what I was saying about Skywalker Ranch, or Skywalker Sound, sort of like, the next generation holding up the standard, and honoring and respecting and making sure the legacy and the talent and the output lives up to the original people that did it. And I think fandom might sort of do that as well. Like if that screening happened at like an AMC or something like that, there would have been a lot of hooting and hollering and a lot of stuff going on
People were
that we're
very
seeing.
respectful. Like,
It
people
was
laughed and
like
stuff, but there was not, like, over the top ridiculousness.
people were
Like
like,
Vader and stuff, people didn't
there was a
cheer at
lot of
that.
there was respect in the room. There were moments that anyone would react to in Star Wars, specifically Rogue One, where you're like, yeah, yeah, woo, cheering, or
Mhm.
whatever. But it was like this, yeah. You could tell everyone in the room wanted to respect everyone else to enjoy it the way that they traveled to go see it. And granted, some people were there from down the road. We traveled from the other side of the country. There were other people
Mhm.
from all parts of the country as well, maybe even beyond. And everyone was there collectively, maybe 250 people or what have you, in one room, all with the common interest that is Star Wars. And being able to be there, because I didn't know, like I tweeted about this, like when I first did a recording podcast for TRB, I was sitting up at my kitchen table that I still have, that is too old for anything, that might fit in the aesthetic of the main house at Skywalker, but with an iPad mini and regular headphones on Skype. I never would have thought in a million years I would get invited to Lucasfilm or Skywalker Ranch, and that I don't take that lightly at all. I mean, granted, we've worked hard and we've had a lot of episodes of this podcast, and I'm really proud of what we've done. So I am proud that we got to be invited there. But I still look at it from me, John Hoey, regular guy in my normal life, being in this place, and it's I made sure I looked around a lot and soaked it in, because it is a whirlwind thing, and a lot of times when you're in those whirlwind situations, you don't allow yourself to stop and look around, Ferris Bueller style. But I did, and I really made sure I took mental photographs and embraced all of that. And in addition to thanking Lucasfilm and thanking Skywalker Sound, Christina, of course. Uh, I got to thank our TRB community and our TRB listeners, because one, we never would have been able to go out there without the support of our patrons and support of our people that really, like our diehards who really believe in us, and all the
Yeah.
support they sent from the base about, you guys deserve this and stuff like that. We couldn't be happier for you
It
guys. And
means a lot. Yeah.
it means a great deal. And every time we were in those big moments, part of me was like, man, I kind of wish we could have the whole TRB party
We could
here
share them
and
with
have
it.
everyone
Yeah,
experience
share
it.
it with
But
them. Yeah.
and that's why we're trying to do this episode. I know it pales in comparison, but hopefully you're picturing these things we're painting with our words here. But just a really just amazing experience. And then by the end of that night, so it was like essentially 14 hours of running all over parts of the Bay Area, across the bridge and back. Lucasfilm, Skywalker Ranch, back to Lucasfilm. By the time the movie ended, it was 10 o'clock, and we were gonna meet with, we were gonna go get some beers with, like Mac from Children of the Watch and stuff, and everyone was just tired because we had such a long day. But it was really just an amazing time, and I'm glad we got to do that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really crazy. Like you said, if I could tell Lacey from 2018, who's sitting in her closet in her house, that this would be the long-term trip for me, like in the long timeline of this podcast, that I would be standing on Skywalker Ranch and I'd be watching a movie at Lucasfilm, I would be like, there's no way. And that's in big part to all the hard work we've done, time, sacrifices, stuff like that. But then, of course, all of you at home listening and watching, you supporting us and sharing the podcast and reviewing and liking and just listening to us. Say you don't do all that stuff and you don't like social media. I get it. Social media kind of sucks. But just listening to us, it it's gotten us to this point. And I don't know who I would be if I wasn't here right now, looking back at like 7 years of doing this. Um, and I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunities from Lucasfilm and Skywalker Sound, that they're supporting what we're doing and they appreciate that we love this galaxy that we're a part of. Um, yeah, I don't know what I'm just, like I said, I was walking around Skywalker Sound very quiet. John knows I was like so overwhelmed that me, big mouth, can't shut up, could not think of anything to say because it was just so truly wonderful. Uh, and even just seeing the Yoda fountain for years, I've seen so many people get pictures of this thing. To be standing in front of it, it felt like it wasn't real. Like it felt like I was just like dreaming it. So yeah, I couldn't
And
agree more. Thank you for everything, guys. We truly appreciate it. And here's to what's next, I guess. I don't know what it's going to be, but for now, it's just, what do we do now?
I know. And 8 years ago, I was on my honeymoon and we stopped in San Francisco on the way to Hawaii to break up the flight because you know me on flights. But um, and this was before we found out Kathleen was pregnant with Johnny, but she was pregnant with Johnny. We didn't know. We went to the Yoda fountain, and Lucasfilm was closed for the holidays or whatever. We didn't go inside or anything like that. We just went to the fountain. There was no one there. We took pictures, and I had a penny in my pocket, and I took it out and put it on my thumb, and I flipped it in the air and made a wish, and it literally landed. I have a photo of it. I'll try to find it. It landed right between his feet on the top, heads up, right there. And I just made a wish that maybe one day I'll be back here and be able to go inside and like check stuff out. And 8 years later, you and I got to go there and do it. And it's just, and I just started with TRB then. It was just weird. You know me in bookends. It was this amazing, like odd, crazy bookend thing for me. And I'll never forget it. And I'm really touched that we got to go. I'm very proud that we got to go, but I'm also just so honored that they invited us, and would love to go back one day, and because it never gets old. But
Mhm,
well, I don't think we'll ever forget this.
mm-mm.
Absolutely amazing. And then before we knew it, we were gonna get pizza at the place
We
that
tried
we
Tony's.
tried. Yeah,
I
and
ordered a pizza. It was
the,
ordered.
yeah. Tell them the theory that we had and what happened to the pizza.
So I ordered a pizza. It was about 25 minutes before they closed. So I ordered DoorDash. The person picked it up. They got said pizza, and all of a sudden it was like, your pizza has been canceled. Sorry. And so I think that the person took our pizza and canceled the order.
So then we're like, we're both starving because we ate lunch.
I don't know
and
what it is on these trips. We never eat.
We never eat. Yeah. It's
It drives me
so
nuts.
we ate lunch and then we hadn't eaten since, and it was probably, by the time the movie ended, I think it was about 10 o'clock.
10:30, yeah, 10,
And we
10:30,
get back at like 11 or so, and we're like, what's open? We tried to do the pizza thing that didn't work out. So then we end up ordering from this place called Charlie's, which is like Temu McDonald's.
It was like knockoff McDonald's, yeah.
But
Even the red boxes with the
But Gilleran over here, like, is tracking the DoorDash guy, and look, mind you, nighttime San Francisco, it's, think about like the very beginning of the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. Like,
it
the
gets
streets
dicey.
it's dark, it's shadowy, people are acting sketch, people are talking to themselves, and I feel bad for these people, but it's really everywhere, and you don't necessarily feel safe. And Gilleran's walking up the block because the DoorDash guy, it's on a square block in a sense. He's around the corner. We're walking by like all these different people, all these different walks of life, almost like Home Alone when Kevin's walking through Central Park, and she's just scooting up I'm tailing her. I'm like, where are you going? And she meets the guy and gets the food, and then we walk back past all those people, and we finally get into our safe abode in the hotel, and we eat this horrible food that was delicious because of the day we had. And then that was it. Before you knew it, the next morning, we head to the airport. I get dinged by TSA. Check this out. So Lacey walks through because she has the fancy schmancy stuff. I have to go. I'm man of the people. I like Ace Frehley. I went through normal security on the way home.
I've been telling you for 7 years to get pre-check, by the way.
I mean, who knows when we're traveling again. But so anyway, I'm in this long line, and they're doing a horrible job filtering it. And I get to the spot where you take the bin out and you put all your stuff in, and there were no bins. And then all of a sudden, this whole flock of flight attendants and pilots walk up. They have their coffees in the hand. The people are like, yeah, go on through with their coffees and everything. Everyone else is dumping it. All us peasants are dumping out our waters and everything. So I finally get my bin. I put all my stuff in. I'm literally only wearing socks, sweatpants, and a t-shirt. What t-shirt am I wearing? The Resistance Broadcast logo, the one you see on your screen here. I walk through the metal detector clean. I'm 2 feet past it, and it goes, I'm like, what, you got a manual? They manually buzz me? So then they pull me over, and they're like, you've been selected for random screening. So I'm sitting there. There's this an old woman with a dog, her husband with the dog. They can't get the collar off. She joins the party of the selected screening. So it's me and this old lady with a dog. We're saving the world here, folks.
I'm sitting in the restaurant at this point, by the way.
My stuff gets through fine. And then I don't get like searched or anything. So they didn't do any padding on me. They didn't do any additional metal detectors on me. So I'm like, what's going on? So I go to get my stuff. And the guy goes, can I see your phone, please? So I guess they sweep and they check your phone. I Googled this. They check your phone for explosives or something. I'm like, pictures of my kids. I don't know. But I think I got dinged maybe because my shirt said Resistance Broadcast.
I told you that.
Well, yeah, but I didn't believe it at first. But then I'm like, Lacey might be right, because maybe they thought it was a political thing or something like that. Because we do get followed by people who think we're a political podcast, and then they see Space Bears and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, it's a Star Wars podcast. So maybe they looked it up and saw, oh, he's just a nerd. All right. And then I finally get through. We got some decent food this time at the airport. The guy kept calling me young man. I was like, oh, you hear that? He called me young man. And then he goes to the table behind me to a guy who was like 55, and he called him young man.
That's not what happened. He called you young
happened.
Man, and you literally said, you were like, I don't know if I like that. I'm not a young man. And then you started getting more annoyed as the guy kept calling you young.
Well, because I realized it wasn't genuine, because then he started calling even older people young man. I'm like, oh, F this guy. So we get out there. We walk past different booths and stuff like that and all that. We finally walk all the way down to our gate, and we get on the plane and we go home, and
In Zone
finally
7.
Zone 7. So the last part of the story is we're very turbulent ride. I finally watched Hunger Games, by the
I
way, the
was
first one.
terrified. I was really
Yeah, yeah. You were like knuckle white, like it was shaky. They told us it was gonna be. The sketchier part was we land. Bumpy landing, we land. You know, you always think when you land it's over. No, show's not over, because we pull up, but we stop in the middle of a runway, which is perpendicular
middle.
to another runway. Yeah,
Middle. Yeah.
yeah. And the pilot gets on the thing. Remember at the top, Lacey said both trips the pilot said things were chaos. So the pilot gets on, he's like, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to approach the gate. We have to wait a little bit. We are face to face with an active runway.
It is pure chaos, he said.
It is pure chaos
chaos
down here today. And this is JFK Airport. And, you know, they're doing construction too. But we're sitting there, and I open the window to the plane, and literally right in front of us, there's a plane taking off as though you're at a stop sign and a car's driving this way, perpendicular to you.
And next to us were multiple other planes. Yeah.
There were ones behind us too. So I'm like, please, I would much rather go out swinging like Bail Organa in a blaze of glory on the plane versus you land the plane and you die trying to get to the gate. That is the most pathetic. People would make jokes about it. So I'm like,
I was so scared landing that plane though. I don't think I've ever been so scared. I was terrified. And I'm like a good flyer.
But we got to the gate. We got to our car. We got
Did you finish Hunger Games?
I did. Yep. I got.
What'd you think?
It's pretty good. All right.
I like it. The second one's
But you said
better.
the second one's better, so I'll watch the second.
Yeah. Second one's like The Empire Strikes Back.
New castings. I think Elle Fanning is playing Elizabeth
Effie
Banks'
in the
character.
prequel. Yeah.
And someone else was just cast. Oh, I
Kieran
heard
Culkin.
Kieran Culkin's cast as
Caesar Flickerman. Caesar Flickerman. Yeah.
I don't know the names, but
the guy that goes ha 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 da, 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 da.
Yes.
I don't know why I did John Cena, but that's what it sounds like.
Can't see me.
It was a crazy trip.
Amazing trip, a great time. I have since dug a hole in my yard and buried my suitcase, because after Japan and
it was
now
a lot.
this, I'm good. But we're always down to hang. So we just had a wonderful time, and we just wanted to share it with all of you, and hopefully you enjoyed us talking about it. Hopefully it did justice to an amazing trip. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. So we want to thank everybody for checking it out. But that does take us to the end of the show. We want to thank everybody for listening and watching, being a part of TRB, however you are. Like Lacey said before, it doesn't matter. We just appreciate whether you listen once in a while, you listen all the time, you're a patron, you buy t-shirts. Any way you support us, it means a great deal, because we know there's a lot of Star Wars podcasts out there. So the fact that you choose to listen to us means a lot to us, and we're never lost on that. So thank you all so much. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app, Apple, Spotify, wherever it's free. Just look up Resistance Broadcast. And then our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TRBpodcasts. If you're watching, thank you so much. And our patrons, if you do want to support us on Patreon, we're going to start, now that we're not traveling for a while, we're going to start firing up our bonus content again on there for this and Nerdy and Nice. So head to TRB or patreon.com/TRB podcasts, and the tiers just start at $5. So any support you can give us goes a long way. We really appreciate it. And I usually do this every episode, and I got to make sure I do it on this one. A very special thank you to our generals and spice runners on Patreon: Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Colin Cormier, Stephen Caro, Sachi, Darth Snips, and Aramin Rojas. And the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil SHAH, KENDALL, GELNER, Andrew STALEY, Jeremy Myers, THEFORTWORTHIAN, and Brian Smith, and everyone in the base, the celebration crews, everybody. And thank you for all your support. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. Thank you so much. Lacey, where can people hit you up to talk to you about all this stuff that we just experienced?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. Oh my God, it's late. And I actually want to thank you, John, for being on this journey with me.
Thank you too. We had a
Why
really
are you
fun
laughing?
time.
I'm being genuine.
No, I know. I did just compliments. If that was one, I don't like. I don't handle them all that well, but thank you.
It is a compliment because we've been
No,
thinking everybody else, but like if I was doing this by myself, it wouldn't be as fun.
it would be a
Also,
lot
you get to see
scarier
me
too.
in all these embarrassing situations.
Yeah, and I had a great time with you as always. So thank you for coming with me, and thank you
Of
also
course.
for all the planning you did. Of course, you always kill it for us. So,
Thanks.
but we had a really,
Even
really,
though it all
really
falls apart immediately.
no, get out. But no, great time, absolutely. And for me, everybody could find me on Blue Sky X at Johnny Hoey. And Nerdy and Nice with Lacey as well, which we'll be picking up again next week, and of course Resistance Broadcast. Thank you again to Lucasfilm, Skywalker Sound, especially Christina for just being such a good person, so
Awesome.
kind and generous with her time. Can't thank you enough, and thank everyone involved enough for inviting us out there and just being so nice and open and kind and making us feel like it was
We
okay for us
matter.
to be there.
Yeah.
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 They were just a really warm reception. Everyone involved at Lucasfilm that we met and Skywalker Sound we met were such nice people. I really genuinely mean that, and that really meant a lot. So that was really great. So thank you all again very much. We'll be back with a regular episode of Resistance Broadcast this Thursday on audio and video, and then Nerdy and Nice will be back next Monday. A lot to talk about. A lot has come out. Superman trailer,
Yep.
a lot of stuff. We'll get into it, but we're going to get out of here now. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you next time right here on the Resistance Broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.